Hello, 7th graders, and welcome to our video on applying the standards of craftsmanship. To get full credit for this video, you need to copy down everything that I have, as well as fill in the blanks. I have labeled the blanks with purple highlighter, so it should be pretty easy for you to tell what you need to fill in. All right? Applying the standards of craftsmanship. This is a 7th grade standard. Our objective is to achieve the specific standards of craftsmanship for a given technique. Under here I have our rubric. If you guys don't have the paper rubric, all you need to do is copy this stuff down. What I've done here is I've highlighted the differences between the 2, the 3, and the 4. So for a 1, you either didn't turn your work in, you didn't put your name on it, or it's not finished. For a 2, you need to be able to explain what you had to pay attention to in order to meet the standards of craftsmanship or why they're a good measure of quality. If you find that you are having trouble achieving a level 2, all you need to do is go to my YouTube channel and watch the video on explaining the standards of craftsmanship. What happens when you move to a 3 is, in addition to explaining the standards of craftsmanship, you've also achieved the standards that you spoke about. It means the things that you're talking about you actually did. For a 4, you're going to identify standards of craftsmanship that were not listed on your assignment and explain why they're good measures of quality. You have also achieved those standards of craftsmanship. So the difference between the 3 and the 4 is instead of using standards I gave you, you're going to come up with your own. Each of your projects will have a table identifying a few unique standards of craftsmanship for a specific technique. So examples of techniques would be watercolor, ink drawings, using clay, colored pencil. And the standards for each technique will be different, though they will fall into 3 categories, which we'll get into in a second. You guys have 5 vocabulary words. The first is craftsmanship. Craftsmanship is the overall quality of a product. The best way I have come to think of explaining this is noticing the small things that make a really big difference in your work and then paying attention to them so that they are very good quality. We can divide craftsmanship into 3 categories to make this a little easier, and you'll see all of those categories on your chart. The first is attention to detail. Details really are the super tiny things. The direction you are moving your colored pencil in when you are filling in the area with color. The way your joints line up in wood shop. How even your application of paint is. Durability is simply the ability of something to last through normal use. Function is the ability of an object to perform the task it is supposed to perform. And functional art is simply art that serves an everyday purpose. For example, this is something I made when I was in high school. It is a piece of functional art. Right now I am using it to hold hairpins. I use it every day. It functions. Okay. Moving on. Let's talk about step 1. Step 1 is focusing your mental energy. Look at the chart that I gave you for the standards of craftsmanship and notice that they are broken down into 3 categories: attention to detail, function, and durability. Listed under each of those categories is specific standards of craftsmanship that you need to meet for a given technique. So the first thing you're going to do is choose listed standards of craftsmanship on the assignment. Step 2, nail it to. Explain what you had to pay attention to in order to achieve that specific standard of craftsmanship, or explain what would happen if you did not achieve that standard of craftsmanship. For example, when we paint, we make stretchers so that we can stretch canvas over something and then paint on it. When we make those stretchers, a standard of craftsmanship for both function and durability is that our joints line up and create a nice 90-degree angle. If I don't do that, my painting may not be as square, or I'll have funny things going on like this, and then the canvas or those stretchers will poke through the canvas. So this is both attention to detail, right? Because it doesn't look nice. The corner is not crisp. In fact, it curves. And also durability, because my stretcher bar will eventually poke out of my canvas. Okay? Step 3. To achieve a 3, if you have achieved the standards of craftsmanship that you identified and explained, then you have a 3. So your hint here is to pay attention to your work. Focus your mental energy, right? Choose standards of craftsmanship from the list that you actually achieved. So after explaining it, when I look at your work, I can say, oh yeah, they did that, and you'll have a 3. Okay? Remember, different art forms have different standards of craftsmanship. This is why it can be really difficult to explain craftsmanship. For example, in this ink painting, this is not on stretchers. It's on a piece of paper, which means I would not have to pay attention to the joints in my stretcher bar or the canvas, because there is no canvas. Also with this is ceramic, right? I had to wedge the clay to make sure there were no air bubbles in this so it didn't explode in the kiln and it wouldn't be very durable. I don't have to worry about air bubbles in any of my paintings because it's a different technique. Good craftsmanship comes with purposeful practice. The first painting I showed you with the bad corner was one of my very first canvases that I made and first paintings that I created. This one is way more recent, done years after practicing building stretcher frames and painting. Because I noticed I had to pay attention to it, specifically when I messed up, I was able to focus my attention when practicing and I got better. Craftsmanship is important because it increases the value and desirability of your work. It makes it shine above the work around it, and then people want it and are willing to pay more for it. If you are going for a 4, all you need to do is identify standards of craftsmanship, explain why they're important, and achieve them for standards that I did not list for you. So it will be things that you noticed you had to pay attention to while you were working. I will see you guys later. I'm looking forward to helping you demonstrate the standards of craftsmanship.